Welcome. I got a new pen today. I want to try it out. It's red. We're going to be learning about a older grammar form that's still in use today in some specific cases. And it's used for making assumptions and guesses about the future. First, let's learn how to make it, and then I'll talk about how it's used and what it is. So to make it, you take a verb stem, and then if that verb stem ends with a consonant, you attach 리라고, or if it ends in a vowel, you just attach 리라고. Now, there's an exception if that verb stem, for example, the verb 살다, to live, if that verb stem ends with this letter, lir, then you're actually going to attach 리라고 as well. Otherwise, it's 으리라고 after a consonant or 리라고 after a vowel. This 으리라고 is basically this same thing. Now, you might be wondering, what is this? Is this the object marker? No, this isn't the object marker. This is a verb ending that gets added when you're talking about the future tense. And you've seen this before in the regular 것이다 form. When you say something like 할 거야, 내가 할 거야, I will do it, or 제가 할 거예요, like that. I will do it. This is the future tense form. This 으리라고 is essentially this, the future part of that form when you say you're going to do something. Specifically, the future tense meaning comes from this part, 으리. This is an archaic version of this. Well, where'd the 라고 part come from? This is actually a quoting form, and it's not an exception or anything. This is a standard quoting form, like when you use the verb 이다 to become 이라고, or 아니다 to become 아니라고, or like 하다 to become 한다고. This is originally the archaic verb 으리다 for talking about future tense. This is equivalent today in modern Korean usage of like the 겠다 ending. Like 하겠습니다, something will be, or something it must be, it would be, right? You're saying something will happen or that you're assuming it will happen like that. So you're making an assumption or a guess about something. Originally the verb was 으리다. So when you take 으리다, just like 이다 for to be becomes 이라고, you get 으리라고. That's where it comes from. So, 으리라고 is a quoting form. That means it's going to be used with a verb that talks about quoting because you are, quote, something will be, just like a quoting form. This is kind of like saying like 한다고 생각해요, or 한다고 말했어요, or 한다고 했어요. Anything like that is a quoting form, right? So 한다고, someone does something, quote. Someone will do something or will be something, quote. And then it's going to be followed with a verb, but it's the same way as that. It's just a regular quoting form that means something will be a certain way. So this form essentially is 겠다. So as a quoting form, 겠다고. So it's for making an assumption or a guess about something that'll happen in the future, and you can think of it as meaning likely, surely, or definitely will be, or would be, or do something. Now, you'll notice that not only is in parentheses, because you might or might not add it, but 고 is also in parentheses. Why? Because it's also optional. You can write 으리다 or 으리라고. What's the difference? As far as meaning, nothing, but it adds more emphasis. You can also just translate this form as 겠다고. Something will be used in a quoting form, or 것이라고 or 거라고 for short. So 할 거라고 생각했어요. I thought you would do it or someone would do it. It's the same form. 하리라고 생각했어요. It's an older form of these modern forms today. So this form, 으리라고, sounds a little bit fancy. Like you're putting your pinky up while you're drinking. It's the same thing. It doesn't get the drink into your mouth any better or make it taste better, but it looks fancy, right? That's the difference. So let me give you some examples of how you might use this. Okay, I ran out of space, so I wrote the last one up there. 생각하다, to think. So you think that someone or something will do or will be something. So I thought that you would go. I thought that it would be cold, just like a regular quoting form. 믿다, same thing, but now instead of thinking it, you're believing it. You're trusting it. 마음 먹다, which is literally to eat your heart, but it's to make up your mind. So it's basically to decide. So I made a decision to do something. 결심하다 also is the same meaning, but this is more like to determine. 말하다, I said that something will happen or will be. And 예상하다, which would be to predict something or to expect. So I expected that. And finally, 다짐하다. 다짐하다 would be like to promise, like to pledge. So I made a pledge to do something. These are the most common verbs you're going to see it with. Not all of them, but are the most common. So let's do some example sentences. 혼자서도. So even is do here. Even is do. do. Okay. 혼자서도. So even 혼자, by yourself without any help, alone. So even doing it alone by yourself. 잘, well, 하다, to do it well, 하리라 믿어요. So I believe that even by yourself, you will, 하리라, do well. You can think of this sentence as meaning 잘 하겠다고 믿어요. So even if you're by yourself, I believe that you will do well. I'm sure you'll do well even by yourself. 혼자서도 잘 하리라 믿어요. Now because you've used 하리라 or 하리라고 instead of 하겠다고, this sentence sounds more fancy. It's not only used in formal speech. It's used in any kind of speech that sounds kind of fancy, a little bit archaic. It's a little bit fancier, and it's a little bit less common because of that. 다시는. Again, 다시는 topic marker. Here it's actually just being used for adding emphasis to it. So like again, 전화하다, to call, 전화하지 않다, to not call. So 않으리라, in this case, 않으리라고 or 않을 것이라고 or 않을 거라고, like that. 마음 먹었어요. So I decided to, I made up my mind not to, in this case, I made up my mind to not call again. So I decided I will not call again. 다시는 전화하지 않으리라 마음 먹었어요. So I decided I won't call again. 물 분필. 분필 is chalk. 물 is water, so water chalk. This is like chalk that uses water in it. I've never used it, but 두 번 다시. Literally 두 번 is 2 times. 다시 is again, so 2 times again. But this is how you say not even once more in a negative usage. 쓰지 않다, to not use. So here it's I will not use it. 결심하다. 결심하다 is to decide. So I decided or I determined I will not use it. 두 번 다시. Like there won't be a second time. 두 번 다시 쓰지 않으리라 결심했어요. So I decided I won't use water chalk ever again. 물 분필은 두 번 다시 쓰지 않으리라 결심했어요. So 쓰지 않을 거라고 결심했어요. I decided that I would not use it again. 그걸, 그것을 혼자서, again, by yourself, alone, without any help. 혼자서 다, all of it, everything. 먹다, to eat. 먹을 수 있다. You can eat all of it. So in this case, 있을 거라고 생각 못했어요. So I didn't think that you could, 먹을 수 있다, eat all of it by yourself. I never could have thought you would be able to eat all of that by yourself is a natural translation, but literally it's 생각 못했어요. I couldn't think. 다 먹을 수 있으리라고 생각 못했어요. So I didn't think that you would be able to eat all of that by yourself. This 는 here, again, is the topic marker, but it's just being used to add emphasis. 손님, customer, or guest. 손님이 이렇게 많이, this much. 오다, to come here. 올 것이라고, 오리라고는. So as for this many customers coming here, 예상하다 is to predict or to expect. 못했어요. So I couldn't predict. I couldn't expect. As in, I never would have expected that so many or this many customers would come. I never could have expected that this many customers would come. 손님이 이렇게 많이 오리라고는 예상 못했어요. 그렇게 하면, so if you do that, literally if you do it like that, so if you do that, 내가 모르다, to not know. 내가 모를 거라고 생각했어? Did you think that I wouldn't know? 모르리라, 모르겠다고. Did you think that I would not know if you do that? Do you think I wouldn't know if you do that? 그렇게 하면 내가 모르리라 생각한 거야? There is one more usage of this form. You take a verb stem, you attach 으리라 if it ends in a consonant, or you attach 리라 if it ends in a vowel, or if it ends in the consonant lir. However, this one doesn't have ko at the end, which means this one's not going to be a quoting form. Meaning, That's the end of the sentence once you get to here. So I said before that this form is actually just the archaic version of this. Or you can think of it like 겠다, or maybe koshida or koya. So that's just what this form is. It's will do something. So will do or will be when you're making a guess or assumption about something. This form by itself can also be used to make an assumption or a guess about the future. And by that, you can think of it as meaning either will or would. So if it's an action, will do or would do, or if it's a description, will be or would be. This is a fancy way of just saying that something will or would, but this usage is only for very fancy speaking or very fancy writing. And the place that you'll hear this sort of usage the most is just going to be either songs or poetry. This is not a common everyday form. 5살 아이도. So even a 5-year-old child, 이 정도, this much, this amount, 는 this much, it's just for emphasis, 할 수 있으리라, 할 수 있을 것이다, would be able to do this much. Even a 5-year-old could do this much. 5살 아이도 이 정도는 할 수 있으리라. And that's it. That is the lesson for today. Now you are a master of 으리라 and 으리라고. Thank you everyone for coming, and I will see you next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.